Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for watching. This is Warren Redlick with the Daily Lie. We're going to start today with something else, but soon we're going to get into FSD, the future of Tesla full self-driving. We just heard Elon say that the price is going to go up to $12,000 to add FSD to your Tesla. In the future, it's going to cost $100,000 or more. People think that's crazy. I'm going to go through that. This is the thing that is going to drive Tesla stock over $10,000 a share. This is going to change everything about the way transportation works in America, in Western Europe, in China, and around the world. It's going to make the world a better place. It's going to lower the cost of transportation for the average individual. There's a lot of misguided responses and attitudes about what's happening with FSD pricing, and I'm going to dive into that. Before I dive into it really quick, thanks to the Vasa Law Firm in Sweden, all my Patreon supporters for helping the channel grow. Also, thank you to my local supporters. If you are a supporter of this channel on Locals, then you should be able to comment in the chat or on the posts. If you're interested in specifically in the FSD stuff, if you're watching this recorded, when you see this on the screen, this is when we're getting at FSD. This is going to be the first image. Before that, we're going to talk about Giga Texas, and we're going to talk about the Boring Company loop tunnels. So we're going to get to that first. So let's dive in. Dan Ives, who is a stock market analyst, said that he expects Model Y production will start at Giga Texas over the next 7 to 10 days. The information that they have, they've got paperwork, they've got other things, that the stamping machines are already in place and mostly completed. The green light is there for a Tesla to kick off. This is all going great. So we're going to start seeing vehicles. My prediction along with this, so keep in mind, Tesla is going to have a Q3 investor call in about 2 to 3 weeks, roughly January 25th, 24th, 26th, something like that. When they have the investor call, Elon said we will get a product roadmap. So my prediction is on that date or around that date, Tesla is going to announce a next generation Model Y coming out of Texas. Sorry, that next generation Model Y will be a high-performance Model Y. It'll have structural pack, front and rear castings. It's going to weigh 500 pounds less. It's going to be faster. It's going to have more range. Lots of great stuff coming with Texas Model Y, and that is coming soon. So a lot of really big things are about to happen with Tesla in the next 2 to 3 weeks, just related to Giga Texas and Giga Berlin, rolling out Model Ys, production deliveries. It's all going to start happening soon, and that's going to lead to much bigger numbers for Tesla in 2022 in terms of manufacturing. FSD is the real big deal for Tesla long-term. Robo-Taxi is the real big deal for Tesla long-term. I'm going to dive into that in a few minutes. I want to talk about Vegas Loop too. This is something that came up. Ordinarily, what I do in my live streams is I talk about news for Tesla, SpaceX, Boring Company, and Neuralink, and I dive into one thing or another in more depth. This week, it's going to be FSD, but I just wanted to talk about Vegas Loop because there was some disinformation, the equivalent of Tesla Q for Vegas Loop. You can see it down here. There's an article in The Independent. There was another post. There was a video calling calling the Boring Company's Vegas Loop, quote, a death trap, and saying that traffic piled up and there was a traffic jam. I watched the video that this was based on. Basically, what happens is you can see in this image that the vehicle that whoever shot the video was in was approaching some, quote, traffic jam. There was a brief slowdown as the cars entered the central station at the Boring Loop, at the Las Vegas Loop. I've been in this. I've done a video about this before. It was like a 1-minute delay, and they're calling it a traffic jam, and they're calling it a death trap. No one died. Well, how do you call something a death trap when no one has died? It's just absolutely absurd. And this continued, the efficient market. For some reason, this tweet got a huge volume of replies, that the Las Vegas Boring Loop is a catastrophe waiting to happen as soon as a Tesla catches fire in there. People realize the mistake of no emergency exits, no ventilation for toxic fumes, and no access for firefighters. How was this even allowed? And I just responded to this. You have to be really dumb to believe this nonsense. City engineers for Las Vegas approved the design. The design includes emergency plans and ventilation. Tesla fires are extremely rare. There's this myth that Teslas just catch on fire randomly. It's total nonsense. And of course, never bet against Elon. So here's the actual information. This was yesterday. I think this is referring to Saturday. The Las Vegas Convention Center loop moved 38,000 passengers, averaging over 3,000 passengers per hour. This thing is working great. They are delivering on their promises. This, by the way, that's averaging. That means their peak traffic was higher than, it was probably in the ballpark of 4,000 an hour. This, or maybe even 5,000 an hour. This thing is working great. The system is spectacular. Yeah, every once in a while there's going to be a bottleneck, and they're learning from the experience, and they'll do better in the future. But a 1 minute slowdown equates to a traffic jam? What kind of traffic jams do these people live in? In my world, a traffic jam takes a lot longer than a minute. It's just total nonsense. And this notion that there's no safety features, the loop has no internal touch hazards. Unlike a subway with a 600-foot third rail that you can touch and electrocute yourself, it doesn't have that. So there's no dangerous electrical wiring that you might touch on your way out when you're escaping if there is a problem. In the likely case that a fire does occur, the tunnel's redundant bi-directional ventilation system will remove the smoke. Remember where this idiot said no ventilation for toxic fumes? No, it has a bi-directional ventilation system. They planned for this. The city officials approved it. They have city engineers who, it took months, maybe more than a year, maybe 2 years to get this thing approved. There's fire suppression systems. There's a fire-rated first responder emergency communication system. The systems are tested frequently with local police and fire departments. Do you see this again? No access for firefighters. The systems are tested frequently with local police and fire departments. Loop tunnels are fully illuminated. If an incident does occur, it has 100% camera coverage. What are they talking about? The people who bash Elon make shit up. They just make stuff up. They make stuff up. They make it up. They don't care about the truth. They don't do any research at all. If they do research, they're lying. I wrote in this thing, there are people like, oh, there's no way of getting out. You can't open the doors. Of course you can open the doors. It's so stupid. The tunnels at the maximum are like 12 feet wide. The car is like 6 feet wide. There's plenty of room to open a door and get out. What are they talking about? They're insane. This is absolutely crazy stuff. And this is the kind of stuff that we keep seeing. And just a reminder, we're going to start really quick. We're going to talk about FSD in a minute. But the insanity, the level of attacks that come against Elon Musk's companies, it's non-ending. It's probably never going to end. The best part about it is it's going to get dumber and dumber over time. It's already incredibly stupid, but it's going to get dumber and dumber over time, and we're going to be laughing harder and harder at this nonsense as it goes. We're going to be counting our money. We're going to talk about FSD in a minute. We're going to be counting our money. And those of you who own Tesla stock, we're going to be counting our money and laughing our asses off at these idiots. Okay, so let's dive into FSD. By the way, I'm wearing the t-shirt, Tesla is the next Tesla. This is where we're going. Okay? We're going up. Okay, we're going up. I'm going to tell you why Tesla's going to $10,000 a share and higher. We're getting there right now. We're getting there right now. This is fantastic stuff. And so anyway, you can buy this shirt at elonbits.com, the Tesla and Air shirt, the Elon stainless steel water bottle, elonbits.com. Check it out. The Tesla and Air shirt is selling like crazy. The Cybertruck shirt is selling like crazy. This shirt is selling like crazy. $10,000 a share by 2025. My bear case for Tesla in 2030 is $8,000 a share. It's trading around $1,000 a share now. This is not professional investment advice. All I can tell you is I keep buying Tesla stock. I can't tell you what to do for your sake. You should talk to a professional investment advisor, but I keep buying Tesla stock when I have the money. Absolutely insane. And I drive a Model 3 with FSD Beta. It's absolutely spectacular. I actually drive FSD Beta less now because I realized how much fun it is to drive the car. But FSD Beta is also awesome. I drove in Miami last night. Busy city streets, heavy traffic, lots of pedestrians. FSD Beta was better than me. It made one mistake. I made two interventions that were wrong. So one time I intervened correctly when it made a mistake, but I actually intervened wrongly twice. It saw something coming that I didn't see, and I intervened, and then I had to jam on the brakes to stop because I realized it was right. FSD Beta is awesome. It's spectacular, and it's going to get better and better and better and better. We're going to talk about that. But here, what we're going to talk about today is the future of FSD, when it gets significantly better of human, when we go to Robotaxi. So here's what started everything yesterday. Yeah, this was yesterday. Elon tweeted, maybe it was 2 days ago, Elon tweeted that Tesla's FSD price is going to rise to $12,000 on January 17th. It is currently $10,000. If you want to lock in $10,000 for FSD, put your order in for a Tesla before January 17th. It's that simple. If you don't want to pay $12,000 for FSD, order a Tesla now. It's going to be a while before the car's delivered anyway. Order one. Order a long-range Model Y. It'll probably be a year before you get it. You got to lock in the FSD price now. I don't think the deposit is that high. So, I have deposits on a Plaid Model X and 2 Cybertrucks, just to be clear. And I'm waiting. You know what's probably going to happen? It's probably going to be after January 17th that they're going to announce the Texas Model Y. That's what's going to happen. They're going to announce the Texas Model Y after January 17th, and the FSD is going to cost $12,000 on that. They're not going to announce the Texas Model Y before the 17th. That's a prediction. It's a gut guess. Anyway, Elon tweets this. There's all these responses, and I just wanted to point this out, and this is the basis of this video. At the top here, I said Tesla FSD will be worth $100,000 or more within 2 to 3 years. Paying $12,000 for it instead of $10,000 is still a bargain. If you want it for $10K, order now. And there's all these responses I got on Twitter that just crack me up. And we're going to be going through those, and I'm going to lay out why it's going to be worth $100,000 for a Tesla for FSD. It's going to be worth more than $100,000. And the stock, this is going to drive the stock. Think about it. If FSD ends up being worth $100,000 and Tesla sells FSD on every car they make for $100,000, it's actually better than that. But if they sell every car they make with a $100,000 extra price from FSD, and they sell 5 million cars, that's $500 billion in extra profit a year. Okay? Are you seeing why Tesla's the next Tesla? Do you see it? Okay, but there's all these objections people have, so we're going to go through that. Lucas says, Elon said they were looking at leasing FSD to other companies for the safety price. It would be irresponsible not to. By raising the price of the one prime-time purchase and now the subscription, will Tesla price people out of safety? And this misses a key point. This misses a monster point. Tesla increasing the price of FSD on a car does not mean the price of riding in a safe Robo-Taxi is higher than the price of riding in a Tesla that you bought. Okay? The future is not Tesla making cars for you to sit in your garage and do nothing 22 hours a day. The future is Tesla making Robo-Taxis that operate 18 plus hours a day, serving 10 times as many people as your car is going to serve you if you keep it in your garage 22 hours a day. And spreading the cost of FSD over 10 riders instead of just you means that FSD reaches more people experience the safety of FSD in the future. And Tesla makes monster profits, and shareholders get monster earnings, monster growth in their Tesla stock. And society is safer and transportation costs less for everyone. That's the big deal. So let's go through some of these responses here. Again, isn't Elon trying to accelerate the advent of sustainable transport by bringing compelling mass market electric cars to market as soon as possible? How does raising the price make any sense? It makes sense if the cars are going to operate as robo-taxis. Yeah, it doesn't make sense if Tesla's selling the cars to sit in your garage 22 hours a day. How many hours a day do you drive your car? How many hours a day does the average person drive? If the average person buys a Tesla and sits it in their garage 22 hours a day and it only operates 2 hours a day or less, then a robo-taxi driving 18 to 20 hours a day is getting 10 times as much transportation out there to society. It's removing 10 times as many internal combustion engine vehicles from the road. It's cleaning the air 10 times as much as your car sitting in your garage. You have to get out of the mindset that Tesla is selling cars to sit in your garage 22 hours a day. If you think that's Tesla's goal, you're missing it. The goal is to accelerate the transition to sustainable energy and sustainable transportation. And the car sitting in your garage 22 hours a day does not accelerate as much as robo-taxis operating 18 hours a day. Wrap your head around that and buy more Tesla stock, because that's what's going to drive Tesla stock up. Ash Reddy says, I think you are drinking FSD Kool-Aid. FSD will become similar to automatic transmission once offered by others, wherein you can charge extra for a few short years. And he's complaining that he paid for FSD and his family Teslas 3 years ago, and Tesla got the money, and I got no benefit. Well, I don't know. I drive FSD. I don't know if he didn't get FSD beta or not, but I can't. I believe that navigating on autopilot with FSD is better than regular autopilot. So you got some benefit presently. You also got an option on when this FSD goes live, and you paid a lot less than $12,000. You paid less than $10,000. You bought it 3 years ago. You probably paid $5,000 for FSD. You paid $5,000 for something that's going to be worth $100,000. You just got to be patient. And if you're not patient, that's not my fault. So, but this point, Gary Black said something similar, that FSD will become similar to automatic transmission once offered by others, which will happen in a few short years. Yeah, SpaceX has been landing orbital rocket boosters since December 15th, 2021. I think it's the 15th. 6 years. Where's the other companies landing orbital rocket boosters? People keep telling me FSD is harder than landing orbital rocket boosters. Well, it's taken 6 years for other people to catch up to landing orbital rocket boosters, and they haven't even tried yet. So if FSD is harder than landing orbital rocket boosters, then why do you think that other companies are going to match FSD in a few years? It's hard. Tesla hasn't managed to do it yet. Nobody else is even close. Nobody has the hardware setup that Tesla has. Nobody has the data collection that Tesla has. Nobody has millions of vehicles on the road generating data. Nobody has the supercomputers doing what Tesla's doing. Nobody has anything close to this, and nobody's trying yet. Nobody is deploying a fleet of millions of vehicles with all the hardware. Tesla started deploying the fleet with all the hardware about 3 years ago. No one else has started deploying that fleet yet. No one else has plans to deploy that fleet yet. When somebody else starts rolling out millions of cars with full FSD hardware, with a full chipset for doing neural net processing, the inference chips that are currently in Teslas, when somebody else starts deploying AI training systems, supercomputers, to process that data, it's gonna take them 3 years from then to match FSD. And they haven't started yet. And they're not even close to starting it, and they don't have plans for it yet. Yes, I'm going to upload this to YouTube later. I see the. I'm sorry, I'm not paying attention to the chat. I'm busy with the. I got a lot to say today, and I gotta bang it out here. So I'll get to the chat eventually. I want to thank all my local supporters. Anybody who's in the chat is a supporter on Locals, and I really appreciate your support. Of course, I appreciate the Patreon support as well. All right, let's do a little bit more on Robo-Taxi. We're going to dive into a lot more here. I talked about it's amazing how few people understand that Robo-Taxi. Okay, so Everyday Tesla down here, let me pop this up here. Everyday Tesla down here says there has to be a cap to how expensive FSD can get. No point in making a software that's supposed to save lives but is unattainable by the masses. Again, the Robo-Taxi operates 18 hours a day, serves 10 times as many people. Robo-Taxis make self-driving cars more accessible to the masses. What we tend to do is we tend to relate this to our own individual experience, and you're not getting poor people. You're not getting middle-class people. You're not thinking about middle-class people who have poor credit and a DUI conviction, and their cost of ownership of a car is higher than yours. So when I was, years ago, I'm an attorney. I had a client, not a DUI client, but I had a client, and I got a Honda Accord. I was paying $250 a month for a Honda Accord. My client, she bought a Isuzu, like a 5-year-old Isuzu SUV. She was paying $500 a month because she had bad credit. Her insurance probably cost her more. So my cost per mile on my Honda Accord was probably something like 60 cents a mile, 50 cents a mile. Her cost was probably $1 a mile. If Robo-Taxis come in and they offer rides for 25 cents a mile, which is ARK Invest's prediction of the medium-term to long-term price for a Robo-Taxi ride, then people like my client are going to save 75 cents a mile on 10,000 miles a year, like $7,500 a year, riding in Robo-Taxis instead of owning a private car. Why don't you see that? Because you're not thinking about them. You're thinking about yourself. You're thinking, I want to have a car. I want to put it in my garage. You don't care about the masses. You're not thinking about the masses. You're not understanding what their lives are like. If we can save them from the burden of car ownership, all the hassles that go with car ownership, selling your old car, buying a new car, shopping for car insurance, getting oil changes, getting new windshield wipers, replacing tires, all the hassles that go along with car ownership. And instead, you just press a button on your phone and a car shows up and takes you where you want to go. And you never have to worry about where you parked. You never have to scrape ice off your car. The car shows up at the front, picks you up warm. It's better. It's safer. It's better. The robo-taxi future is so much better for the masses, and you can't put yourself in the shoes of the masses because you're just thinking about yourself and owning your own car. I'm sorry, I'm being harsh with you, but that's the reality. If you think that the accelerating the transition to sustainable energy involves Tesla selling you a car cheaper than they should sell it for so you can park it in your garage 22 hours a day, then you're being selfish and you're not thinking about the masses. Elon is thinking about the masses. You're not. Sorry, I'm getting a little angry, but I mean it. So Mark Benton, I love, just so people know, I love Mark Benton. So I'm going to come after Mark Benton here, but Mark Benton is one of my favorite people on Twitter. He says it's only worth $100,000 to $200,000 if you want to robo-taxi your car. Many or most don't. I have zero desire to rent my vehicle to strangers. Fine, I'll pay you $100,000 for your car and I'll run it as a robo-taxi. If you won't sell it to me for $100,000, then you just agreed it's worth more than $100,000. It's that simple. It doesn't matter whether you want to robo-taxi your car. I want to robo-taxi your car. I'm going to make $30,000 a year or more robo-taxiing your car, and in 10 years, I'm going to make $300,000 on my $100,000 investment, and I'll still have a decent car at the end. Do you see it yet? You don't want to make $300,000 on your car? That's your choice. I'll make $300,000. Sell it to me. You don't think it's worth $100,000? I'll pay you $75,000. Give me a discount. If you don't see it, I'm sorry, but that's the way business works. So there's a BR Cooper up here, another guy I love on Twitter, says that investors will be, this is my point, investors will be looking to scoop up every existing car with FSD to put it in the network and make money. Nobody's going to force you to sell your car, but you're going to have to turn down offers for a lot of money to keep driving it yourself. And they don't get this point. And here's Rory not getting the point. Right after we have this conversation, Rory doesn't get the point. You know, Elon does care about people, not just money. My elderly parents love their freedom to drive, but soon they won't be able to. Independence from FSD would be a godsend. Then they can ride in robo-taxis. They don't have to own the car. They don't have to own the car. They get more independence and more freedom riding in robo-taxis than they do from owning a car. Why? I don't know why people don't see this. Am I too angry? What am I? Am I too angry? What? I don't know. I think I'm too angry. I got to calm down a little. I just got really excited about this. Here's Mark's again, and now here's Ampo-Circa. The more likely scenario is that once the Robo-Taxi network is a thing, that Tesla will offer a commercial Robo-Taxi FSD price and a much lower personal use only price. Okay, I want to be clear that this is stupid, and I say this. Why would Tesla sell any cars that aren't used as Robo-Taxis? You're Tesla, okay? Let's say you make 5 million cars. You can sell all 5 million for, let's say, $150,000. Or you can sell 2.5 million for $150,000 and 2.5 million for $50,000. Why would you sell any of them for less than 150 grand if you can sell all of them for 150 grand? You have something that's worth 150 grand. You're not selling it for 50 grand. It costs them nothing to sell an extra car for 150 grand. They're throwing away $100,000 a car for every car they don't sell for 150 grand. 50 grand for the car, 100,000 for FSD is the number of when I say 150 grand. Like, I just don't get it. Like, how do you not see that? And Ampo-Circa, not everyone wants to use their car as a robo-taxi. Some people still just want to own their car. Then own a car. It's not going to be a new Tesla because they're not going to sell it to you because they're going to make more money running it as a robo-taxi. That doesn't even get into how much money Tesla makes running it as a robo-taxi themselves because they make more money running it as their own robo-taxi because their cost of the car is much lower. And the transaction cost is lower if they keep the car. Most consumers will not be able to afford $100,000 for FSD. Most consumers can't afford a Tesla now. But if Tesla's going to sell them rides for 50 cents a mile, that's 20 cents a mile less than the average American pays. Tasha Keeney from ARK Invest puts it that the average American spends 70 cents a mile on the car that they own. So if Tesla offers FSD for 50 cents a mile, everyone saves money. Everybody who currently spends $7,000 a year on a car saves $2,000 a year, and it's more convenient. Melody says, but I might need to wait 5 to 10 minutes for a Robo-Taxi. It might be ready quicker than you would have. You might get the Robo-Taxi quicker than the time it takes for you to get to your own car. What if you're parked at a mall and you're parked a quarter mile away from the entrance to the mall, and the Robo-Taxi, and you don't have to find it in the mall parking lot anymore because the Robo-Taxi picks you up front. I think Melody's being sarcastic there. I think that's what the /S is. So, all right, let's keep going. I want to get to the numbers here. This is from Autonomy Day. If you haven't watched the Autonomy Day video, watch it. This is Tesla's Autonomy Day video. If you've watched it before and you missed this point, watch it again. Watch it until you get it. Okay, so here, Elon is saying the cost of the vehicle is less than $38,000. Now, to Tesla, the cost of a Model Y or a Model 3 is probably in the ballpark of $20,000 or less at this point. When they make a car for themselves, it's probably less than $20,000. Now, for new owners, a standard range Model 3, I think, is still in the ballpark of $40,000. This is still close, but that was 2019. Okay? Elon is predicting a 1,000,000-mile life for the vehicle and energy efficiency of 4.5 miles per kilowatt hour. This is for the Model 3. I believe that the battery day vehicle is going to be significantly better. I'm predicting battery day vehicle is going to be more like 6 miles per kilowatt hour, maybe even 7 or 8 miles a kilowatt hour. My pod car, we're going to talk about my pod car briefly later. My pod car should hopefully be 20 miles per kilowatt hour, but that's a really exceptional story. So let's go on with Autonomy Day. So in the current world, Elon had the average cost per mile of owners driving their cars at 62 cents a mile. Tasha Keeney remembers at 70 cents a mile. 13,500 miles a year, 250 million vehicles. That in the US, we're spending $2 trillion a year on transportation. And Elon's point is we can save a lot of money for society. That if instead of paying 62 cents a year for car ownership or $2 to $3 for the average cost of a rideshare per mile, that the average cost to run a Robo-Taxi is going to be under 18 cents a mile. I think Tesla's going to drive the cost of a Robo-Taxi down under 10 cents a mile. The cost to the owner of a battery day vehicle, or the cost to Tesla of a Tesla-owned battery day vehicle running as a Robo-Taxi, is probably going to be 10 cents a mile or less. I think that's what they're going to achieve. So here we get into, if you own a Robo-Taxi, if you own a Tesla today that has FSD, that you paid $10,000 for FSD, you paid $5,000 for FSD, whatever, your price per mile for that new vehicle, if you buy let's say you buy a new Model Y, a new Model 3 long range or standard, I think it's the standard range plus is probably the most efficient on a cost per mile basis. So you buy a standard range plus, especially with lithium iron phosphate, you're paying less than 18 cents a mile for that car over 1,000,000 miles. You might be paying 15 cents a mile. Your gross profit per mile, assuming 50% empty miles, is 65 cents a mile. If you do 90,000 miles a year, you're making $30,000 a year in gross profit on that car. For 11 years, in 11 years, you made about $330,000 in profit running your car as a Robo-Taxi. What do you pay today for a standard range Model 3? 40 grand plus 10 grand for FSD. You pay 50 grand to make 330 grand? Are you seeing it? Are you seeing it? And if you paid $100,000 for FSD on a $40,000 car, the battery day vehicle is going to be $25,000. So let's say you pay $125,000 for a battery day vehicle, which is more efficient, so your cost per mile drops, right? Your cost per mile on a battery day vehicle is probably going to be around 10 cents a mile, so your gross profit per mile is going to be up. $300,000 for a $125,000 investment, and you don't see the value in that? I don't know what you're looking at. And I honestly think this $30,000 gross profit is low. My calculations, he's got 16 miles an hour times 16 hours a day. I think you're probably going to do 20 miles an hour times 18 hours a day. So you're actually going to make more like 120,000 miles a year. And your gross profit's going to be higher because early on, the price per mile is going to be more. Right now, you're going to undercut Uber. So Uber's $2 a mile or more. So Tesla sells rides for $2 a mile or $1.50 a mile. And your cost is 15 cents a mile. You're going to be making more than $1 a mile for the first several years. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. The value is insane. By mid-2020, over 1 million Tesla cars will have FSD hardware, and Elon's saying the net present value of a single Robo-Taxi is around $200,000. If you're going to make over $300,000 in the vehicle, then it's worth $200,000 today. That's just simple math. Depends on interest rates. It depends on other factors, but that's a reasonable ballpark. So that is the story. I'm going to dive into, I asked people for questions in advance, my local supporters, my YouTube supporters, my Patreon supporters. So let's get into this. A. Casano asked, will the recording be available at 4 p.m.? I think I'm going to make this... Well, first of all, this video, when I'm done, will be available on Locals almost immediately. I'm recording this now. I'm going to edit it briefly and put it up on YouTube. Should be up around 3 p.m. on YouTube as a premiere with a live chat. When do I think drivers following a car with FSD will stop being impatient? Never. I mean, drivers are impatient following human drivers. I think FSD will get better and better and better, and the problem of people behind FSD will go away fairly quickly. But I don't know. I drive on roads today, and drivers are impatient with human drivers already. What city will be the first to allow FSD level 5 in the USA or elsewhere? I don't use levels. I think the question is what city will have the first Robo-Taxi? And my general sense is it'll probably be the Bay Area of California because it apparently works better in the Bay Area than anywhere else, according to Elon. Florida, it's already legal. My best bet is either Florida, Las Vegas, because Las Vegas has the Boring Company tunnels. Maybe Texas, but really, I think most likely Bay Area, California will be the first place that will allow Robo-Taxi network. And Tesla's autopilot team is based there, so they'll be better able to monitor it from there. So that's my gut guess, but Florida, it's legal. It's illegal for cities to tax. It's illegal for local governments to regulate or tax a Robo-Taxi network. Florida law already. Florida's thought way ahead. And there's a lot of Teslas here. And there's a great supercharging network here. It's better than California. It's better than Texas. The supercharging network here is awesome. I charged last night for 19 cents a kilowatt hour on the way home. I didn't need to charge. It's like, well, it's only a little bit more expensive than charging in my garage at 13 cents a kilowatt hour. It charges faster, and that way my battery will be full when I want to do whatever I want to do tomorrow. It's fantastic. Okay, so this is a question from locals. Victor asks about Ford Lightning production. GM is ramping up for the electric Silverado. Toyota is ramping up. No, they're not. They're saying that the governments won't allow these automakers to fail. That's true. How do I feel this impacts Tesla in the next 1 to 3 years and beyond? So first of all, the next 1 to 3 years, none of these companies is going to have scaled production of any electric vehicles. None of these companies can scale in any meaningful way. Ford is talking big about how they're going to produce more F-150 Lightnings. They're going to go up to 150,000 a year. That's trivial numbers compared to what Tesla's doing. And remember that EVs produced by other car makers are more competition for internal combustion engine vehicles than they are for Tesla, right? A Ford F-150 Lightning replaces a Ford F-150 sale more than it replaces a Cybertruck sale. Tesla's going to sell every Cybertruck they make, so this doesn't really compete with Tesla at all. Even deeper into the future. And I agree with you. It's likely that governments, German government, U.S. government, Japanese government will bail out automakers. But the automakers just are not geared for this new world. Their bureaucracies are a problem. Their dealership models are a problem. Their unions are a problem. Their political ties are a problem. They're not geared to compete and innovate in the way that's necessary to survive in the future world. They're all dead. I think Hyundai has a chance of surviving. That's the only one I see surviving. Maybe Kia. I mean, Hyundai, I'm not sure if Hyundai and Kia are separate. I think they're the ones that have the best shot. They're all in trouble. They can't scale production. They can't produce profitably. They can't innovate on manufacturing the way Tesla's manufacturing. He asks about anything priced past a certain point will piss off buyers. Do I think Tesla's gone too far? I think I already addressed this. It's not about selling cars to consumers. It's about building a Robo-Taxi fleet. And then Sarah asks, please address the issue of the impact of cold weather on Tesla battery performance. First of all, gasoline cars and diesel vehicles are affected by cold weather. EVs in general are affected more. Teslas in general do better in cold weather than other EVs in cold weather. Teslas sell well in Canada. Teslas sell extremely well in Norway, countries with cold climates. Do they lose a little bit of range? Yes. Is it a big deal? No, and they're getting better at it and better at it and better at it. It's not going to be a long-term problem. So, thank you for the question, Sarah. Thank you for your support, Sarah and Victor. This is another locals question, I believe, from R. Dotton. 2 questions here. Tesla Semi unveil was 2 trucks. In all the speculation about future products, the second one has been largely overlooked. What do I think is the potential for that smaller truck? So I think the idea here is that Tesla Semi initially looks like a tractor trailer to pull large loads. Is there an intermediate level for Tesla Semi? And I think there's this balance between the quad motor Cybertruck and what it'll be able to tow, probably more than 14,000 pounds. The tri-motor Cybertruck is supposed to be 14,000 pounds, so I'm guessing the quad motor Cybertruck might be able to do 15 or 20,000 pounds. The full load that a Semi can do is 80,000 pounds, and there's this range of loads in the middle. And there are like dually, F350s, F550s or whatever that are in between a regular pickup and a Semi. So I think it's likely that Semi will be able to scale down to do smaller loads, and maybe Cybertruck will do more than I think. I think there's a lot of room. Is there some level in the middle there that Cybertruck and Semi will miss, probably. But I don't think that's a big part of the space. I don't think it's a big deal. And R. Dotton also asks, what effect will the implosion of the legacy auto bubble have on Tesla stock? I think we're going to see legacy auto companies go bankrupt. I don't know who's first, but we're going to start seeing legacy auto go bankrupt in the next couple of years. Most likely, they're the first one that goes under. Their government will bail them out. When they bail them out, I don't think it has a meaningful impact on Tesla stock, but that company will become more competitive because it loses its debt, which is one of the big things holding these companies down is their debt. But they still have the problem that they have to manufacture efficiently. They have to make better EVs. They have to deal with their legacy bureaucracy. They have to deal with their dealership model. They have to deal with their unions. So I think they're going to get bailed out. They're going to fail, and they're going to get bailed out again, and they're just never going to be able to compete. And at some point, the governments will give up. That's my gut hunch. Will somebody actually get to the point where they can innovate like Tesla? Maybe, but it doesn't seem likely to me. So next question was this is from Night Panthers. 3 questions that came in fairly recently. Do I think Tesla insurance will spread to other states anytime soon? I believe that Tesla's going to be rolling out insurance. They did roll out Texas already, so they had California and Texas. I believe they're going to hit Florida. I believe they're going to hit several other states early this year. I'm hoping because I have a Tesla in Florida, so I'd like to see it here. I think it's coming soon in several states. I think I've seen that before. I think they may have even mentioned it in an investor call. Maybe the Q3 investor call, they said it. I think Pierre Ferragu talked about it as well in an interview. I'm trying to remember who he spoke with. Do I expect Tesla to absorb the Model 3 FSD belonging to private citizens into the Robo-Taxi network? Do I still believe this is the plan? Yes. Any vehicle with FSD should be able to go into the Robo-Taxi network. It's going to be a button. I call it the Go Make Me Money button. You have your Tesla app and you say, Go Make Me Money, and your car goes out and starts doing rides. You know, maybe you work a 9-to-5 job, so you have the car drop you off at 8:30. You say, Go Make Me Money, come back, pick me up at 5. The car spends 8 hours making you money, brings you home. You get home, you say, Go make me some more money. So the car drives 12 hours a day. It doesn't drive the full 18 that a Tesla-owned Robotaxi will, or a full dedicated Robotaxi will, but it still drives 10, 12 hours a day. I don't know why you wouldn't do that. If you had the opportunity, why wouldn't you do that? Night Panther says, I heard the boring ton. And I think the smart move is going to be, why are you bothering to work? Own 3 or 4 Tesla Robotaxis, put them out there. You're making $120,000, $150,000 a year, letting your Robotaxi make money for you. Work from home. Why do you want to drive anywhere for? Every once in a while, you take one of the cars and you take a ride, or maybe you just take a Robotaxi ride yourself. And you don't worry about riding in your own car. Night Panther said, I heard the boring company tunnel at CES is backed up and so is not functioning well. This is false. This is misleading information. I addressed this earlier down here. I covered this earlier with, they moved 38,000 people in a day, averaging over 3,000 an hour. It's working fine. It's working fine. Let's see, where were we? Okay, just really quick about the James Webb Space Telescope. Marshall Vision asks, why isn't there any live video from the James Webb Space Telescope? The James Webb Space Telescope is going to be orbiting 1.5 million kilometers, or nearly 1 million miles from Earth's surface. The launches that SpaceX does are launching satellites to 100 miles, 300 miles off the Earth's surface, maybe, I think, not much more than 300 miles. This is 1 million miles away. It's much, much harder to deliver data from 1 million miles distance. The James Webb Space Telescope is going to be focused on delivering astronomical data to astronauts. It's not focused on providing live streams. And frankly, there's not going to be a lot to see from 1 million miles away. Earth's going to look like a speck. It'd be kind of interesting to see what Earth looks like, but I think the James Webb Space Telescope is going to be pointed away from Earth. The reason it's going to be at this Lagrange point, if you imagine here's the sun, the Earth is orbiting around, the James Webb Space Telescope is going to be on this side of Earth, looking out at the stars this way. So the Earth is going to look dark to it because the sun is shining on the other side of the Earth. So there's not much point in having that kind of video. It's a good question, but there's no point in doing that with James Webb Space Telescope. It's not the purpose of the telescope. David K asks, how far do I think SpaceX needs to go at Alone on Mars plans before NASA gets serious? And just to be clear, if you're watching this now, I earlier in the video I talked about FSD. We're shifting to just what I typically do every week is I ask my supporters on Locals, on YouTube, and on Patreon for questions in advance, and I answer those questions first, and then I get to the chat. So, yeah, live video from James Webb would be boring. Agreed. How far do I think SpaceX needs to go it alone on Mars plans before NASA gets serious? Do they need to put a bunch of Tesla bots and Cybertrucks on the surface, a greenhouse, a sample return? I think NASA is going to partner with SpaceX on the first Mars missions. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to play out. I think SpaceX may fund the missions themselves, the first few missions, to prove it's viable. But it's also possible that NASA will contribute funding and NASA will participate in those launches. I think NASA is serious about Mars. But I do think that if NASA doesn't move forward, SpaceX is going to move forward on their own. I do think that's going to happen. I do think that the initial launches will... I don't think Tesla bot's going to be ready for the first set of launches. We'll see about that. Not just ready for the launches, but ready to do the tasks that are necessary on the Martian surface. I don't know how useful Cybertrucks are going to be initially. They might be useful. I'm not sure. I think the initial things they're going to launch to Mars are going to be large numbers of solar panels and batteries, and then the equipment for the Sabatier process to generate fuel so that starships that land on Mars can be refueled to come home. That's the first goal. The first goal is to be able to generate fuel, methane and liquid oxygen, so that you can fuel Starship for the return trip home. Once you can do return trips, it's a lot easier to get humans going there. That's the main goal. Greenhouse might make sense. Sample return, I don't think is very important, but maybe. Interesting ideas. All right, we're going to a question from Patreon. Do I think there's enough demand? This is about Lucid Motors, the first question. Do I think there's enough demand for... This is assuming Lucid actually succeeds. Do I think there's enough demand for Lucid to sustain them for longer than 5 years? According to Lucid's own projections, they expect to make 20,000 vehicles in 2022 and 49,000 in 2023. Is there a demand for these vehicles even at this low volume? So I do think there's enough demand for Lucid if they were actually able to produce... Let's say they produce the Lucid Air Pure at $75,000 or $80,000. Yeah, I think there's demand for 20,000 of those vehicles at $80,000. But that's not their projection. Their projection on these early numbers is an average selling price of around $110,000 or $120,000. And no, I don't think there's sufficient demand for those vehicles at $110,000 or $120,000 price. Globally, maybe, probably not, especially not the 49,000 number. When you get out to 2025 or 2026, I think it's 2026, they finally get their average selling price under $100,000 a car, and then they're talking about 250,000 cars. I still don't think there's sufficient demand for that. I think that's one of the holes in the Lucid story. Okay, AK asks, how does one combat the tidal wave of hate directed at Elon Musk and Tesla, especially prevalent on Reddit these days? Does it even matter? So I don't follow Reddit, so I'm not aware of that. I see a lot of Elon hate and Tesla hate on Twitter. How do you combat it? I think we just keep talking the positives. I think that to some extent, those are a lot of trolls. It might be paid trolls, and there might be one person with 10 accounts. I don't know. I mean, it's so obviously wrong at this point that you just laugh at them. But I don't have great answers to that question. I do think we just keep doing what we're doing. We keep talking about the positives, and we acknowledge the negatives when there are genuine negatives. We don't just be positive. If there are genuine negatives about Tesla, we should own up to them. I just don't see that many. Duncan says, do I think the Semi is using 4680 batteries, and does the delivery of 15 trucks to PepsiCo suggest that battery production is ramping successfully? We already know that battery production has ramped successfully at Cato Road and Fremont. I'm not saying it's full on 100%, but they have succeeded in producing batteries in significant volume in the Fremont factory. They're producing a fairly large number of batteries in Fremont. Yes, Semi is only going to use 4680 cells. I don't know when they're going to deliver 15 trucks to PepsiCo. I think that might have been exaggerated. There was a picture recently that it looked like there's 2 new Semis that were produced in the Nevada factory for Semi. So we'll see. I'm not as worried about Semi. I don't think it's as important. What's really important right now is Model Y ramping in Texas and Berlin and continuing to grow in Shanghai and Fremont. And then what's coming is Cybertruck. Those are the high volume vehicles that are going to matter more. Semi is going to matter a lot. Okay. And yes, Lucid has a demand problem and they will be out of cash this year. They admit that themselves that they're going to be... Oh no, I think they just did a bond issue that will float them into 2023, Mark. I think that Lucid has enough cash now to carry them into 2023 because they sold some bonds. So then here's a question. This is from my YouTube channel supporters. You can support this. You can support me, support these videos here on Locals. You can support on Patreon. You can support as a YouTube channel member. Anywhere is appreciated. I personally prefer Locals best, but anywhere is appreciated. QKK Tech says 100. This is going back to FSD. $100,000 added to value, not going to happen. Look at new rental solutions where average selling price of a Tesla is $50,000, then one car of Tesla versus 10 ICE and rental solutions about $8,000. So here's the thing. If you only think about it in terms of I'm buying a car and I'm driving it 2 hours a day, then you're missing why Robotaxi matters and why the cars are worth more than $100,000. If you get that you don't need a human driver and the car can drive 18 hours a day on its own and it can serve 10 times as many people as a human driver, then you're starting to get it. If you don't get it, you don't get it. I can't help you. Jay Patel, Jay Patel's a friend of mine from Clubhouse and Instagram. He says, if we focus on just electric vehicles and solar only, which is current success, still it is a $10,000 stock by 2030. Yeah, my bear case for Tesla in 2030 is if self-driving never works and they underperform in producing vehicles and solar, you know, a lot of the things don't come true. Still, the volume of production that Tesla is going to nail by, let's say, growing 30% a year for the next 10 years, you're still talking about a $10,000 stock in 2030. People just don't get it. Huge valuation, huge valuation. Jay Patel, again, my friend Jay Patel, says, your spreadsheet created almost a year ago. If you compare with current Q4 result, how off are you? I don't really make short-term predictions. My spreadsheets, I focus in the future. So I might have something about 2022 in a spreadsheet, but my real focus has always been like 2026 and 2030. Those are the years I really focus on. So I can't really compare. I believe that my numbers for Megapack, Solar, and Powerwall are high, and I think my vehicle numbers were probably low for 2022. But I don't even look at them because I don't think they're important. Okay. This last question is about my pod car. For those who don't know, I am working on a startup. I met with an attorney recently, hoping to form a corporation. And I'm talking to some potential initial early investors / advisory board for the pod car. This is a single passenger electric vehicle that will further the Robo-Taxi revolution by delivering the absolute lowest cost of transportation with convenience and safety better than what they're used to in poor countries. Tesla is going top down from wealthy countries to middle class countries, from the wealthy people in wealthy countries to the middle class and middle countries. And I want to see if we can hit the middle class in poor countries and poor people in middle class countries by delivering a ride that's safer and more convenient and lower cost than what they're used to. So, and one of the ideas there is there's going to be no suspension for the car. I'm flexing that to maybe the suspensions in the seats of the rider's comfortable. And George says the chassis is going to take a lot of punishment. We'll probably need a lot of servicing. I think you might be right, but I think you might be wrong. We're going to design the chassis to be really sturdy. It should be able to take the beating. I don't think steel takes that much punishment. I don't think it's going to be that much of an issue. We'll see. I think it should be fine. How will we service these vehicles? And if supercharging company bans you from using their stalls, where will you charge cars? If we're able to succeed in producing a fleet of pod car robo-taxis, we'll have our own charging infrastructure. But, you know, ideally, we're going to partner with Tesla, and Tesla will let us use superchargers if we want to. I don't think we're going to need to. I think we're probably going to use our own charging network. I think that's the rough concept that I have, is that the vehicles will have a ballpark 200-mile range, and they will charge at night, and they'll charge once in the middle of the day, and that should be enough for them to operate full on, 18 hours a day. And it's not going to be designed to change batteries. Ideally, my hunch is that when we get to the final iteration, or I shouldn't say there's never a final iteration, but the production version of the pod car, that it will be a structural pack and you won't be able to change batteries. It won't make sense to change batteries when we have a structural pack. I'm not sure about that, because I'm leaning towards lithium iron phosphate batteries, and unless lithium iron phosphate batteries are available in sufficient volume cylindrical, it's probably going to make more sense to use prismatic, and I don't think prismatic works in a structural pack, but I still don't think it's going to make sense to change the batteries. It's not going to be designed to have a battery pack. That my latest vision, the batteries are not going to be all in one pack. And it's just not going to be convenient to take them out. That would not be the design. It's too much of a pain in the butt. And then you have to have all these extra batteries. So that doesn't work. All right. So real quick before I dive back in, again, I want to thank the Vasa Law Firm in Sweden, all my Patreon supporters for helping the channel grow. Check out the t-shirts at elonbits.com. Check out the stainless steel water bottle at elonbits.com. All right, let me get in this chat here. Watch the YouTube video. Guy bought a mega pack for his house, 232 kilowatt hour batteries, no grid. I think that's a power pack. That's not a mega pack. A mega pack is 3 megawatt hours. I think a power pack There's power wall is like 15 kilowatt hours. Power pack is over 200 kilowatt hours. Mega pack is like 3 megawatt hours. So I don't think he bought a mega pack. BYD blade batteries are prismatic and work as structural pack. It's possible we would do something like that for the pod car, but I think the BYD blade battery is too big. I don't think that'll work, but I'm not ruling it out. If we can do structural pack for the pod car, we will, because right now the pod car design weighs about 400 to 500 pounds. So that's really, really good, because like the FUV, the Arcimoto FUV weighs like 1,300 pounds. So if we can get down to 400 or 500 pounds, it's great. If we do structural pack, it probably saves us another few hundred pounds, another 50 or 100 pounds, and that just makes the vehicle more efficient at lighter weight. Tesla built 1.5 megawatt mega charger for Pepsi. I believe that is correct. And thanks, by the way, to Mark Plott for consistently supporting this channel. Mark is one of the moderators on YouTube. We'll be on YouTube later. I don't think the James Webb Telescope is going to open up with pictures of itself. That's not going to make sense. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, no, I know the BYD blade battery is LFP. That's correct, Adam. And if anybody watches one of my favorite channels on YouTube is The Limiting Factor. He just did a great video on the BYD blade batteries. If you haven't watched it and you're into battery stuff, check out The Limiting Factor. He's got a lot of great content, and his latest video on the BYD blade battery is excellent. Are the Pepsi semis going to be blue, red, white, or silver? Interesting question. Porsche Taycan are outselling Porsche ICE cars. I think the Macan and there's another Porsche are still outselling Taycan. Taycan's expensive. There are lower cost Porsches that are outselling. Mark says the battery day vehicle is the Model 3, but with mega castings and 4680 structural pack. I don't think so, Mark. I think the battery day vehicle is a new vehicle that's going to be smaller than Model 3. Could have a single piece casting for the whole frame, 4680 structural pack, I think. I'm not sure. I'm not sure it's going to be single piece casting for the whole frame. Probably going to have 48 volt wiring. It's going to have a bunch of other things coming. We'll see. I think the Cybertruck's going to blow everybody away, and then the battery day vehicle is going to be even more crazy. We might learn about the battery day vehicle on January 25th-ish. They don't see it. Oh, talking about FSD, Yo-Yo Ma says, good name, Yo-Yo Ma. They don't see it because it requires a shift in thinking. I agree with your assertions analysis. I just suggest that people don't always get it. So if you're stuck on the idea that Tesla's going to sell you a car, and the car is going to sit on your garage for 22 hours a day, and you don't want other people riding in your car, that's not accelerating the transition to sustainable energy. If we're trying to accelerate the transition to sustainable energy, making a vehicle that operates 18 hours a day and replaces 9 internal combustion engine cars instead of 1 accelerates the transition 9 times as fast, and makes Tesla more money, and makes Tesla shareholders happier, and is more convenient and lowers the cost of transportation for more people. Dodden says, I ordered Cybertruck with the understanding it may not be worth it to just park it in my garage. Look, if you're rich, like I'm not poor, right? I can have a Cybertruck in my garage and I can afford it, but I'd be stupid not to run. I ordered 2 Cybertrucks and I'm planning to run both of them as Robo-Taxis. I'll take the money. I was tagged for wearing a SpaceX hat on tennis courts. FUD everywhere in media against Elon. Elon must be careful. There's FUD everywhere. That's true. Mark Plott, $100,000 is cheap for FSD Robotaxi. Driving 18 to 22 hours a day can earn owner $30,000 a year, perhaps more. I think it's actually more than $50,000 a year when you work it out. Thank you, Mark. Mark obviously gets it. Mark follows my channel more than most people. Marshall says, I ordered 2 Cybertrucks with $8,000 FSD worth $4,000 more, and no other auto has software like this. I ordered one for $7,000 FSD within the first hour, and I ordered another one for $8,000 before the price went to $10,000. What happens when you actually have real autonomous software? Once Tesla is shown to be successful, others will shift to that method rather than LiDAR, and maybe an additional 5+ years. Yeah, I think 5 years minimum for somebody else to match Tesla FSD. Maybe somebody else will be quicker, but right now I don't see it happening. Comma.ai, maybe? I don't know. My sister Annette lives in Seattle, drives a Tesla, and her boyfriend has a Cybertruck in order. She's not willing to spend the dollars on FSD at this point. She's listening. Convince her now is the time to buy FSD. It's only for people who are willing to put their vehicle out on the road. Look, if you don't want to participate in the Robo-Taxi revolution as an owner, you don't have to. I don't know why you wouldn't want FSD. If you can buy it for $12,000 and your car's going to drive itself, here's the thing, if you're just going to own it for yourself, you're not going to run as a Robo-Taxi. It's late at night, I'm driving home from somewhere and I'm tired, and I put FSD beta on. It's only beta, right? It's not even full wide release yet. And I feel safer knowing that FSD beta is driving the car. It's not as aggressive as I am. If I'm in a hurry, I don't use FSD beta. But if I just want to get home safe, then FSD beta is great. And it already navigates better than I do. it's already like last night it made better decisions than I did. Not usually I make better decisions than it does, but last night it was better than me. And it's only going to get better. It's learning, it's improving. I believe 10.8.1 just came out, and there's probably going to be 10.9 next week. Next week, week after, version 11 in a month or so. It's improving really fast. In what state will the Robo-Taxi network first start doing business? I think California, but Florida's a good candidate. Texas is a good candidate. Nevada's a good candidate. Yeah, Sarah Shan, we're talking about the Boring Company tunnel and then this 1 minute slowdown that they call the traffic jam. And Sarah says, I'd love a 1 minute slowdown versus Austin traffic on its main arteries. People are crazy. They hate Tesla. Somebody, did you watch the video? I counted. It was a 1 minute slowdown. What's the big deal? Yes, somebody's talking about Tesla phone. There is no Tesla phone. It's not happening. It's not. There's no reason for Tesla to do a phone. It's just totally out there. Oh, good question from Mark Plot. Warren, could Tesla do 4680 LFP? That's a 4680 lithium iron phosphate battery. I believe that there will be 4680 lithium iron phosphate batteries because that will make structural pack work for lithium iron phosphate. I believe that's what's going to be in the battery day vehicle, but I don't know. The innovation is so fast and Tesla's so innovative that it's hard to predict exactly what form the innovation will take, but it makes sense. So we're about an hour. I don't see any more questions in the Q&A. What's this? Oh, wait. PRN Matt says, I do agree FSD is a game changer, but only if Dojo is up and running to accelerate FSD to level 4. To impact Robotaxi, those many airport pickup zones will require custom programming, especially the airports. The impending inflation is a stock market disaster. The administration is pushing Build Back Better. So I think FSD is going to be wide release this year. I think before the end of the year, maybe third quarter. I think Dojo is already up and running at a small level, and I think Dojo will be up and running at full steam 6 months. I think James Dalma thinks it's going to take... James Dalma was just interviewed by Dave Lee, and he talked about Dojo. James Dalma is more likely to get Dojo right than I am, so you probably should go with his predictions rather than mine, but I think Dojo will be up and running, let's say Q3. FSD is already improving really fast, so... If you watch the Elon interview with Lex Friedman, I'm going to be doing a video about this part of the interview probably this week, maybe next week. The bad interventions. The interventions when FSD makes a dangerous mistake are becoming rarer and rarer. There's lots of interventions, but what they're looking for is where are the bad interventions, and are we seeing fewer of those? And they're seeing a lot fewer of those. And so there's a curve they're hoping to get to where the bad interventions are so rare that it's clearly better than human. And that's when they go to regulators, and that's when FSD goes to wide release. I think we're going to see wide release like Q3 this year. And then what Dojo does is Dojo takes it to another level where it's so much better that the Robo-Taxi network goes live. I still think there's a chance Robo-Taxi network goes live before the end of this year somewhere, like the Bay Area, California, and very likely in 2023. At airport pickup zones, I don't think it requires custom programming. It's never about custom programming. Custom programming is bad. AI training is good. It will learn. It will do better learning than custom programming doesn't work. Elon talked about custom programming versus AI training in the Lex Friedman interview. Like I said, I'll be covering that. Let's see. Oh my goodness. For those who are wondering about my girlfriend, she's in the chat. She's the most recent chat comment before Mark Plot. How's the girlfriend? She's good. Mark Plot says Tesla D1 chip training tile and Dojo makes a big difference. Yeah, it's just going to accelerate the training. So if Tesla's currently updating FSD every 2 weeks, all of a sudden Tesla will be updating FSD every 3 or 4 days. And the increases in the improvements each iteration will be bigger. So that's why it's going to be that much better, that much faster. You just have to see it. If you don't see it, you don't see it. Did I see Meet Kevin's video on his Plaid? I saw the thumbnail. I didn't watch the video yet. So much going on. I think the video came out this morning and I was prepping for this live stream. But thank you, Sarah, for mentioning it. Meet Kevin, for those who don't know, I'm a fan of Meet Kevin. Kevin, I can't remember his last name for some reason. I love Kevin. He ran for governor of California. Met him in person, great guy. He has a video on his new Plaid. I would definitely encourage people to... Paffrath, thank you. Paffrath. Paffrath. Check out. I'm going to check out his video later on his Plaid. I mean, I've already ridden in a Plaid. I've seen lots of videos about Plaid. I'm not necessarily that excited about Plaid. I'll be excited about Plaid when I get my Plaid X. If I'm dumb enough to go ahead and buy it. $140,000 seems really stupid for buying a car, but I still might do it. Oh, that one I paid for FSD as well.
I wonder how much money I can get for running my Model X Plaid as a Robo-Taxi. We'll see what, maybe that'll persuade me to keep it. My plan is to buy it, operate it, and sell it. Anyway, all right, so we're over an hour. I want to thank everybody for participating. I want to thank all my supporters. Please check out elonbits.com for the t-shirts, the stainless steel water bottle. There's another one that says TSLA on it. Tesla Air t-shirt, the Tesla's the next Tesla t-shirt, Cybertruck t-shirt, all selling hot. Support this channel on local, support this channel on Patreon, support this channel on YouTube as a YouTube channel member. This video will appear again on YouTube shortly. I gotta stop so I can edit it and get it up. Hopefully it'll be up at 3 o'clock Eastern time. Thanks everyone for watching.